All right, we good, we go. I appreciate that last night, man.
Thanks for drumming, Jason.
No problem.
Yeah, Jason will be one of the new drummers. He always had the ability. He's now coming out, doing it. We're going to start with that in a second. Again, just to reiterate real quick, I want to make the announcement here so people that are watching know.
Okay.
The events, again, we're going to do every other month. I'm going to get with Sophia, find out what, usually it's the third, fourth weekend of the month. It's usually in that area. I'll find out in August what Sophia has available. As soon as I get that from her, I'll put out the next one. We've got to go to something completely different the next one. You know how we did one. It's going to be entirely new. You'll be able to grab. It's going to be something dealing with Native American culture. Third or fourth week in August, and like I said, we'll do the class here because it's just easy. I'm not concerned who comes or who doesn't. I really couldn't care. And then I will be still doing the one every month doing a class, but next month, the off month we're not doing a ritual. I'm gonna do the class in Miami. So next month I will do it at Sophia's Garden. That'll just be a class. We won't have no ritual that month. For people that are local, I mean, I'll send it to people that are not. We're gonna do some local stuff at the cemetery. Got a couple things planned, but I'll put that out. Yeah, I mean, anybody's welcome to come. We will pick up the drumming on the beach this month. Both weekends didn't work out. We got rained out the first weekend. We're looking to do that the second week. That's going to be every month. That's a cool event. Let's just come hang out, we drum, chill on the beach. As you know, as the night progresses, pretty much the entire beach gravitates their way over to where we're at. They slowly but surely edge over. It doesn't matter. The beautiful thing with the drum is once you start playing, it don't matter. White people come over, Spanish people, is that they can't resist. And the last one was nice because as the night progressed, I mean, we had people just dancing, and I had this old white couple, like, they didn't want to leave by the drums. You were drumming, they were like this and shit. I mean, literally, just standing while I was drumming. I thought the dude was going to, so it's just a good thing because it sends out good energy. It's a good way to just connect outdoors and just release energy and connect energy and things like that. That'll be the second week in July. We're going to make sure we keep doing that every month. As you notice, the first couple of weeks of this month were real rainy. The days just didn't work out. We tried to do it that one. We had to cancel it twice. Just the weather was bad. As you know, it's rainy season. So we're looking to pick that up the second week in July. It's on a Saturday night. It starts at 7:30. 7:30 to 10. Then we leave there. We go right up the street to a place called Dandy Donut. If you ain't never had them donuts, they the shit. So we just go out there. We hang out for a little bit. We get a coffee, whatever you want. And we just chill for a little bit. But it's cool. It's nice. We kind of just make it like it's more of just a hangout event. It's not really super spiritual. The drumming and the dancing, yeah, but it's more just a kickback. You can bring friends, family, kids, anybody can come to that. It's an open event for anybody. You don't even have to be on this, studying this information. It's not about that. It's just about if you like drums, you want to dance, kickback, just come out to that and hang out. That's all. It's that simple. You don't need to be a part of nobody's going to question what you're about and all that shit. All right, haven't got that shit out of the way. Let's start with your question, because that was a good question. Part you were talking about, like, part of the thing is you're growing and you're seeing that frustration. Like when you start sensing, like, this is part of the thing you have to discipline yourself with. When you're growing and like you're looking at other people and you go, damn, as you quote on describe it, the bullshit, or address the bullshit, get the bullshit out of the way. You're feeling like that because you're superseding that now. You're past it. So when it comes up, you may not be conscious of this, but trust me, when it comes up, you get that feeling like, really, seriously, you're asking that question? Or seriously, we're addressing that again?
I don't know if that's all the way how I perceive it or how I understand it.
Okay.
I think sometimes some of that is from previous mindsets, Christian influence, even though I wasn't born on Christian.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Going back, addressing, don't matter the aspect of how we're addressing it, because there's different methods of addressing it. But when anything comes up, like you say, whether it's Christian mindset, the thing is, you got to understand, there's a lot of people on this path still struggling. They think they're left-hand path, they think they're an occultist, they think they're practicing black magic, but what you just said, the problem is subconsciously that Christianity creeps its way in and they're not conscious of it. Because you could hear it in their questions, you could hear it in the things that they say, you can sense it in their behaviors. Because what's always going to happen, remember, first and foremost, that's what the ritual, and I wanted to get feedback on the ritual last night. That's what the ritual was about last night. Because the thing is, regardless, when you start tapping into this energy and working this path, things that need to come to the surface are going to come to the surface. What I'm saying is you're seeing it now because you've been there, you've done that, you got the t-shirt, so now you're seeing the mindset. You're seeing when people come with certain things because you're seeing yourself part of back whenever you went through it. But now it's like, I'll be honest with you, that was a tough thing for me a few years back because I just wanted to strangle people. I'm talking about people that claim to be practicing this path for years. And see, we don't worship nothing on this path. Like one time we were doing a ritual and some dude was bowing down, praying to a statue, and I almost had to snatch him up by his neck. Like, we don't do that. What are you doing? See, that was subconsciously, he got engulfed in the ritual and that religion came back in. You understand? Remember, archetypes, whatever culture it is, that is just a reflection of a state of consciousness. That's what an archetype is. Tahuti is not a real individual. You don't worship Tahuti. Isis, Aset is not a real individual. You don't worship those things. There were many Isises. You understand? We reflect on the last one we know about because that's the last physical incarnation. Remember, anyone using here can raise yourself up to an Aset or an Isis. When you obtain a certain level of knowledge, you can hold that title. So these were titles that were given to people. You understand? There were many Asets, many Osirises, many Ra's. This is why you had triads and you had gnomes. We get caught up because that's where the Christian mindset comes back in. We start looking at it like, if you study Egyptology and you look at Ra as the Most High, you're religious. That's not, that you're bringing that Christianity shit right back into where you're taking us back to square one. It's the same thing in the Ifa tradition. There were many Shangos, many Obatalas, Yemaya, Oshun, Ogun. That's because, why do you think in this tradition now, if you get initiated, I was initiated Oshun, there's a multitude of paths, not one path of Oshun. Now the question you should ask yourself, why are there different paths of Oshun? What do they represent? Because they say in the Ifa tradition, Ashe represents an energy, a small, minute energy of those archetypes. It represents a state of consciousness. It's hard for us to grasp that, and these people that we talk about, I'm gonna let you finish, I want you to, that we talk about, is they're still looking at it from a mindset that it's something to worship. You'll never understand this path if you can't understand you're the central figure on this path. And that's why I made it clear in the oath last night, we're not worshiping anything. The Holy Death is the symbol we focused on last night. And I think, I'm not going to say, there was a couple people that got thrown off when they went into the second part of the ritual. And I'm not saying some of you guys have been coming, because the Holy Death deals with that. The peace and the tranquility part in the beginning is to prepare you for the inception of what you're going to really experience. So it starts off like that for a particular reason. It's very peaceful, it's tranquil, it's nice, but then it flips modes. That's what the Holy Death is. It's like, okay, I embraced you, welcome my child. All right, now let's get down to bullshit's out of the way. Now we need to get to what we need to get to. But anyway, finish your thought. I want to make sure, we'll express a little bit in more detail what you were talking about.
My thing is, from an aspect of, it doesn't matter that we're dealing with the occult, we're dealing with karate, we're dealing with gardening.
Right.
We don't spend a whole lot of time, when you deal with gardening, talking about areas of gardening or things that aren't pertaining to gardening.
Correct.
You just focus on the gardening.
Correct.
And most masters, I remember my son did it wasn't jiu-jitsu, it was a form of martial arts.
Right.
But it wasn't a common form.
Okay.
And that, when he was doing those classes for those 2-3 years, they always focused on where they needed to be, and anything that they saw outside of what they wasn't, they just knew that it was in opposition, or they needed to fight or flee, or whatever the expression they used.
Right.
So my thinking is of, and maybe probably it's just too much thinking, but it's in this avenue. When you open up and you're saying, hey, this is not fluffy.
Right.
What part people don't understand that's not fluffy? Well, this is dark. So when you give a short 2 minutes, I don't know. I'm not patient yet.
Right.
Sorry.
Right.
I'm just not patient to hear what it's not going to be for 15 minutes.
Right,
And then when I go back to all the
right.
previous
And-
broadcasts, it's like, okay, so I started and then I timed myself.
And that's what I'm saying. The part comes in. That's you coming to the realization that you bypass it, so the frustration kicks in because of the recognition of that. And I get what you're saying, and that's what it is. Because I'm the same way. Now put yourself in me and Ravonna Noon's shoes, where we gotta listen. I've been doing this shit for 20-something years. So now listen, we've been hearing this for 20 plus years now. See, the thing is, people that know us. I mean, you gotta remember, we started out before all this technology shit.
Right.
We were in the streets. We took it to people. We dialogued face to face. We used to walk. We set up tables in the streets in the cities. People would just come to. That's how we taught. We didn't get into this YouTube computer thing till like 2 years ago. Because people that know me, I was old school. I'm more dealing with people directly. I mean, then people told me, look, you can reach more people like this. You need to get into this. I just don't like that. The only problem with the whole computer thing, I think it becomes a bit impersonal. You understand? And then you got all the punks and the bitches that hide behind the computer, and they tough and they gangsters and they talk shit. So it's easy to sit behind a computer and spit incorrect information. And when people had challenged me in the past, I'm about, let's set up a meeting place and let's do it face to face. We don't need no camera to do it because it's not about that. The thing is, if you're teaching incorrect information, the shit needs to be addressed. Now you see the shit's out of control. You got everybody and their mother on YouTube with a channel, and 90% of it, I'm not saying that I'm the only one. There's many people out there teaching good information. They don't get the hits because they're not teaching bullshit. Bottom line is, here's the bottom line, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. Bottom line is, those people you're talking about, like addressing the bullshit. Here's the problem with melanated people in America. They want everybody to do the shit for them. They want to stay up under somebody. They want to be a part of some group. They want to be under some guru or some teacher or some leader. And they just figure, okay, I'm just going to be a member. Hey, how you doing, John? I'm just going to be a member, and I'm just going to be part of the organization. And if I just stay and do what I'm told, I'm going to have some piece of pie in the sky or some piece to salvation. You understand? They think that by being a part of something. Let me ask you this question. Be honest with you. No, you're good. You don't think I know that probably 80% of the people that listen to the show don't do a goddamn thing when it comes to occult work? You don't think I know that? I can feel it when I'm talking. I already know this. But see, here's the thing I come to the realization of. That's what I'm trying to get you to say. It is not your job to get them or not get them to do shit.
Right.
That's the whole point. Your job being, when you have this information, you have a responsibility to just pass it along. See, the Christian mindset comes in when people think it's about saving people. See, when you come into consciousness, if you think this is about saving black people and melanated people, you're fucking yourself up. Because here's the thing, in this room right now, we come from all different tribes, right? There's tribal blood in this room right now that probably some of us couldn't stand the sight of each other.
But not only that, some of us may even realize that we've had other reincarnations where we've been white
Right.
or not, or like I say, I prefer to say I had shed my melanation.
Right.
Because I was in Europe.
But what I'm saying, when it comes to DNA, that's true, the reincarnation thing. But when it comes to DNA and blood, this is why when you look, when most melanated people start groups and organizations, this is why all the conflict and the confusion comes in. Here, all of us have done some business venture, some group thing with people. Then what happens when money gets involved? Disagreements start, jealousy, envy. You ever ask yourself, why is that? Why is every time people try to get, I'm mainly talking about blacks, Latinos, people of melanated backgrounds. This is no different in the Latino community, the Caribbean community, African American community. We all talk about unifying, coming together, right? Now, this might sound hypocritical what I'm about to say. It's not. Fact of the matter is there is no such thing. Unification is an illusion. Harmony with all of us is an illusion. The more you get yourself sucked into that, the more frustrated you're going to get chasing something that does not exist.
You can just get frustrated trying to check your own balance and harmony.
Well,
So
that's what I'm
how are you
saying.
gonna deal with a
But
whole
this is what I'm saying.
bunch of
People always have, we're going to have this meeting and we're going to come together and bring the black dollar together. Sounds good. I've heard every scam. You get together, there's always that one, there's always the other one, and there's always two. Somebody steps forward to corrupt it. You want to know? Because we're tribal people. And what's going to happen is, when you're speaking about reincarnation, you're speaking about DNA. What happens is your nature, your real character and personality is always going to come to the surface. So most people, you just got some people that no matter what they set out to do, it turns to shit. How many of us know people like that? No matter what they put their hands on, it might start out good, but it always ends up about them or it turns into something negative. What I'm trying to say is, I could be here all night talking about this, I don't want to beat a dead horse. All I'm trying to say is, there's reasons for that. Once we understand why these things happen and we're able to put them into perspective, it boils down on this path, the only thing you can control is your immediate surroundings and environment. When you understand that, you won't have a problem. See, the thing is, when you think you can save the world and convince people, because I know some shit, so I'm going to go talk to you, I could pull Sonia aside and talk to her for 3 hours and break down all this information on Egypt and Africa. Sounds good, right? But I still understand, once Sonia goes out that door, she's going to do what the fuck she wants anyway. And then you get frustrated. You say, man, I just spent hours with that sister. Man, that sister come to class. Why is she out there doing this and that? That's none of your fucking business. See, you got sucked in emotionally. You set yourself up for the fall because you thought this was about you saving. You didn't do shit. First of all, we're used as vessels to pass on the information. I love people say, yeah, I know my brothers. Oh, yeah, I taught that brother. I converted. Converted him to what? He converted himself because you got to make the decision and want to do this. You understand what I'm saying? It's just like I could talk to Jason, Bill with Jason. Jason can leave here tonight and go to a strip club and do whatever he wants. I couldn't give two flying fucks. You understand? I did my job. The UPS man drops the package off, you sign for it. UPS man don't give a shit what you do with that package when he leaves. That's my job. I'm not concerned with what you do in your personal life. I'm not concerned about your sexual preference. I don't care what goes on in your bedroom. That's not my job. See, that's the other reason why those things don't work for us, because we join these groups and there's all this restriction and we don't see ourselves in it. Because you know how many people that are spiritual come into these organizations, they might be bisexual or lesbian, and now they struggle because that organization shuns that. You understand what I'm saying? Or they feel guilty because they might do things, quote unquote, that's not in accordance with the group. I like to go out and party and hang out. I don't give a fuck. I'm doing that regardless. I'm not gonna play spiritual. I don't sit in my house all day and meditate and do occult work. There is a time to exercise, enjoy yourself, go out to the movies, go out to a restaurant, hang out in a club. And actually, a strip club can be therapeutical for some men. I'm not saying that and using it as an excuse, just like it would be for some women. If you understand the science, there's sex magic in going to a strip club if you know how to do it right. If you really know how to do it right, you can go into a strip club and perform a ritual without the strippers even knowing it. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. I'm just saying, this path is about taking everything in your surroundings and making it work for you. Because the only thing that you can control is you. Once you start thinking you can go outside that, so then I had some dude email me about a year ago. I understand a lot of stuff you're saying, but I can't understand how you're saying that all this stuff going on in the world, the New World Order, here come all the conspiracy shit. The New World Order, people are suffering and dying. I said, yeah.
But isn't that inside of our journeys, our paths, some of us have different understandings
Of course.
where we originate from?
It's perception is everything, because where you originate from, your background, how you were raised, what you study, where you are right now, is going to determine how you perceive things.
But going even beyond that, what is humankind? What is mankind? And I like to think, especially now being on this path.
But that question you just asked, back up, what is humankind?
What is humankind?
If we, not just in this room, if we walked outside,
And you ask that
and we
question,
walked,
everybody's gonna
that's why I brought up the
answer.
perception thing. They're going to give you an answer based on the information they've been taught with from the time they were small. Their religious or spiritual background is going to influence the answer to that question. Some will say, well, it's the human family, black, white, blah, blah, blah. Then if you go ask a black Muslim, he's going to say, humankind is the white man, and the black man is the you're going to get that perception. Then if you go to some Buddhists, you're going to get another perception and answer to that question. If you come to a cultist, we're just going to say, you ask me, one, again, I got to say this without being, I really couldn't give a fuck, because bottom line is, I know what I am, and I know what my relationship is to what we call the black flame. Black flame is what they call melanin, right? And this path, when you talk about the black flame, which is the gateway to all consciousness. Remember when we had Dr. Edward Gruspine on the show? He hit it on the head. That melanin that starts in the brain cell, right? And neuromelanin we're talking about, is like your antenna, your frequency to everything that consciousness exists, quote unquote, in the universe, the multiverses, whatever you want to. Once you're able to tap into that, you're going to see this ain't got nothing to do with race. See, the race game, but you got black folks now with this whole, with all these police beatings, as I've said a million times before, they're focusing on the psyche of black people right now in America. I told y'all, go pull up the statistics. More white folks get killed by police every year than black folks. They just don't televise the shit. See, every black person that gets shot, I just saw another one today. Well, no, he didn't get shot. He got beat. They pulled over some college kid for a busted taillight, and they got video of them beat. You don't think this is all strategic? So now they put it on YouTube. They put it on the news. We watch it. We get all emotional. Oh man, this is fucked up. But what are you gonna really? What you gonna do about it? We're gonna protest. They laugh. Go ahead, protest. They laugh. And then what you gonna do? Get Al Chitlin and Reverend Jesse Porkchop, and you're gonna get them to come out and we shall overcome. Enough of the we shall overcome. Bottom line is, all the protesting in the world isn't gonna do a damn thing.
I think that's the aspect that's different from in England or coming from London. We didn't have, it wasn't known that police carried guns for years. But we had gun violence from I was born.
Right.
And we had guns in the schools, we had guns in our little pubs and our little places. But it was never, you would never find an English newspaper book about a gun violence situation that happened in any of the.
But you gotta remember, you're going back to a time there wasn't all this social media. I keep telling people, police brutality is nothing new. Growing up as a kid, when I was going to school, I see them pulling bodies out of dumpsters in the projects. Bums freezing dead, people dying in the subways, people getting shot every day. You saw it on a regular basis. And here's the thing, it wasn't just black folks getting police brutality. No, blacks, Latino, I mean, it wasn't too many white folks. But I'm just saying, it happened. It's just there was nobody there with a smartphone filming it and uploading it to YouTube and Facebook. It's just now we're like in shock, like, oh my God. And I keep telling people, you think this shit is new? I said they were doing it just on the same amount of level that they're doing it now. It's just now when you get to see it in real time. So somebody said, what a great way that we can fucking strike fear in black people's hearts. So now let me upload this all the time. Let me ask you this question. And actually, because when Al Sharpton came, when we did an event in Georgia, I was doing an event security, biggest crooks in the world, him and Jesse Jackson, and all they were interested in was getting membership to Rainbow Push Coalition. Man, they passed me that shit, I gave that shit right back to them. I said, man, you take this, I'm not gonna be a part of this. Whole point being is this, he got upset when I had asked him, as quick as when there's a racial event that happens, how come they don't show up when it's black on black crime? How come when a young black person kills another young black person, I don't see Reverend Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton coming out protesting black on black crime? You want to know why? Because there's no money in that. There's no membership in the Rainbow Push. You understand? And what's the other one that's owned by the Jews? The big one, NAACP. That white woman they went berserk about a year or two ago that was passing herself off as a black woman, the time that they were attacking her, you go look it up right now. The president of the NAACP in Oregon is a white man. Do your research before you start. See, this is the problem with black folks. When something breaks, they get emotional before they get all the information. That's the whole point.
It's a reactive nature.
But there's a difference between being reactive and proactive.
Yeah.
We're reactive. Well, I'm not, but they're reactive. They want to react right over, oh man. And I just like, well, what you going to do? You going to go to the streets? What you going to do?
Too busy playing checks.
But that's
on
also
how to pay
because of a
checks.
victim consciousness that is
Of course.
in their foundations.
Of course, play the role of the victim. Now, feel free, if anybody at any time, this is question and answer, and raise your hand, ask questions, because you know me, I'll just keep going on and on and on. So if anything comes to mind, raise your hand. But yeah, these are all good, valid points. Now, this path, the difference, what differentiates what we do, us, this path, and what everybody else does, right?
Let's do that.
Oh, okay. The thing is,
Wait a second. Let's go back to the black flame.
okay.
Because that'll tie into last night's ritual.
Right,
Everyone had a black candle,
correct.
and you directed them to,
The black flame,
yeah.
correct. And what the holy death, remember that, okay? The holy death, which you can synchronize with a multitude of different archetypes. And we went through that last night. What you were doing was linking what you did last night, whether you were conscious of it or not, you linked yourself up with that aspect. So now it's stamped in your psyche. You may not realize it last night, you may not realize it today. You might start to realize this a month or two from now. That's the importance of the ritual. Now, the one lady that was here last night, I'll give you an example. I don't remember her name. That was the one I was telling you. And I don't like anybody to do something they don't understand. So when I was setting up, she was here for the previous thing, and I had asked her, I said, I saw her all dressed in black, and I said, are you here for the ritual? Because we get ready to set up, I was trying to clear out. And she says, yeah, I'm here for the drumming ritual. So I said, well, no, it's more than that. It's not just drumming. That's the second part. I said, if you're going to stay for the first part, well, she go, well, what is it? I said, well, I can only just give you brief. It's not about explaining it to you. I said, I'd recommend if you're not sure what it is, maybe you don't want to do it. And she says, well, there's people in the back. And then she went in the back. She wound up doing it. She looked a little frightened to me at first. But I think she kind of eased into it when she realized it wasn't at all what she thought. I bring that up because the difference of what we do is why I was explaining that to her. And that's why when we go into the back and we ask everybody before we start, all right, this is your last opportunity, blah, 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 you want to do this, blah, blah, because we're not going to explain nothing to you. And if you're not willing to experience it, then it's not for you. But know this, you will never be harmed. You will never be forced to do anything you don't want to do. But as you see, most of the work you do is challenging mentally. And it's going to bring out the best in you. And that's what it's about. Now, for those that went through the first ritual, that was a little more, I know you did. That was a little more intense, it was a little bit different. There's different aspects of it, but remember, it's to bring out the best in you. What I mean by the best in you is you're going to realize when we say one must go into the darkness to do the work of the light. That's where the blindfold stuff comes in. Because the only eye that's vibrating and working when you're doing the ritual is this. So when you're in darkness and you can't see, you understand? Your higher senses kick in. What's that noise? What's that sound? What's moving? I heard something. This and that. So now you're totally relying on your intellect. There is no God there to help you. There is no Allah, Jehovah, Osiris, Aset, Ra. At that moment, that shit does not exist. You realize at that moment the only thing that's real is me. Why do you think we come up to you and you get whispered in your ear? In whom do you put your trust? You know how many crazy fucking answers I get? I heard somebody last night said I and I. What the fuck is that? I'm not going to tell you who said that, but I mean, it wasn't as bad this time because, now know this. I don't know if you heard that. The first one was worse because that question's going to come up in every ritual. And here's the one thing, the reason why. You might say to yourself, when I do rituals, why do some of the same questions come up? It goes to show you how much the psyche retains shit and doesn't. Because no matter how many times people get asked that question, some get it now because they went through the first one and it's set in. There's some that don't and they keep giving different answers. Those are the people we can identify that they need more work because they're not absorbing what this is really about. I mean, the first ritual was hilarious. I mean, I know you guys couldn't see, but the first ritual was, I 2 times had to turn and go the other way because I almost cracked up. What did somebody say? The Most High. Somebody said, I and I. Somebody said, I am that I am. That's some Bible shit. What's some other crazy answers? Oh, he had the classic. His was good. He said, my dad. That was the best. I was like, whom do I put my trust? My dad. I cracked up. But in a way, that like I told him, that's a good answer because the bottom line is it helps you see where everybody's mindset is. And what it's going to do is make you realize where you stand in the scheme of things. Bottom line is this. We all seek knowledge because we want to know why we're here. We want to know how we got here. We want to know where we're going and what's going to happen to us when we die. That's why you study. Be real with yourself. And our biggest fear is being alone and dying alone. That's reality. You might not say, no, not me, not me. I love the one that say, no, I'm cool. I like being alone. I like being with myself. Just by the very fact you said that, that shows me you are fear of dying and being alone. When you gotta just so aggressively state, no, not me. Right there, you're giving yourself up. Nobody wants to be alone. Nobody wants to die alone. Bullshit. If you say you don't care, it doesn't bother you, by you saying that, the very fact it does bother you. This is why we study. This is why in life some of us have been through different groups and spiritual systems because we get to a certain point in it and then it's like, all right, I got what I got out of it. I'm not getting anything anymore. So now I'm going to leave being a Kemetic conscious person, and Buddhist is the way to go. Now I'm this full-fledged Buddhist, and I'm in harmony with the universe. When that thrill starts to wear off, now it's like, where do I go? The thing is, with this path, you can do any of those things and adjust it to your liking. This path, there is no limitations. There is no specific system. You can create your own. You understand? We use all of those systems, but we make it work for us. We're not a slave to those systems. See, you can't let the book be you. You have to be the book. That's what we mean when we say on the show, don't read information and copy it word verbatim, because then you're not spiritually growing. It's one thing to use it as a map or a guideline to create your own structure. That's all books and information should be used for. And I'm telling you, when you read a lot of these books, ask yourself the question. The person that first came up with the idea or concept, at what point did that become authenticated? Right? At what point in time did somebody stamp that and say they are the authority on chaos magic, or they are the authority on Egypt and Egypt consciousness? What makes a person say, if it didn't come from Dr. Ben, it's not authentic? And I love Dr. Ben. I love Ivan Van Sertima. If you want to know really about the Moors, study Ivan Van Sertima. You know why Ivan Van Sertima doesn't get doesn't get the publicity he should get? Does anybody know why? Married to a white woman. They don't want to put him out there like that. You ever seen Ivan Van Sertima? Anybody know who Ivan Van Sertima is? All right, Ivan Van Sertima, who passed away a few years back, he was one of our greatest African scholars. You should Google him. He's the one that really taught the African connection between the Moors and the original Nubians and Africans, and how that connected to us here in America. He teaches the real shit on the Moors, not that Moorish Science Temple bullshit that they're telling you can become natural. You'll end up in jail following that bullshit. Now, I'm not talking about that watered down Islamic stuff. I'm saying go Google Ivan Van Sertima. You can pull up lectures with him and Dr. Jeffries. He did lectures with Dr. Ben. They were on shows together back in the 70s, 80s. The difference with him was, you see this he's a light-skinned brother with a big fro, but he was married to a white woman. You understand? He didn't give a fuck. And he was still teaching the truth about Africa. So I don't think he gets the credit he deserves because of that. Just like Dr. Blair, who just passed away last year, who I've had on my radio show a multitude of times. He catches flack because of the things that he talks about. Now, I don't really agree. And like right before he passed away, the last year of his life, I actually became very close with him. But when I would call and talk to Dr. Blair, I wouldn't always call to pick his mind and talk information. One thing I learned with some of our elders, sometimes they just want somebody to check on them. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Now, Dr. Phil Valentine, who I've had on the show a bunch of times, that's a whole other story. He's very into himself. You know, his big vocabulary words. Nice guy, but that's his thing. Now, I don't bring those people on the show because I agreed with them. I bring them on the show because I want people to hear their perspective. That's it. And I make that clear on the show. I don't agree with everything that they say. I had Dr. Jewel Pookrum on the show. I don't agree with everything she says. I agree with a lot she says. I probably agree with most. Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum, I agree with a lot of stuff that he says, because he attacks it from a scientific, a medical, and a spiritual perspective. So what you do on this path, I'm bringing all this up to say what? You got to pick and choose what applies to you. Whatever doesn't vibrate with you and resonate with you, you just toss it to the curb. So look, let me give you an example. I can take this book right here. Secret Societies and the Illuminati. All right, I've been through the Masonic Lodge, was raised up Master Mason, went through the Rosicrucian Order, went through the shrines, crossed the desert. So I can pick this book apart and go, yeah, that's cool, that I don't care about. So now I've read this book, I've taken from it what I can utilize to better myself. Whatever that's it, I'm done. All right? I could take this book here, Lost Technologies of Ancient Egypt. It don't mean you got to read a book and agree with everything in it. This is the problem. We feel like, what makes something, here's the other thing, everybody's on the internet talking about pseudo-information. And I addressed that in one of my videos. Really? So something is classified as pseudo if it can't be found in a book. Right? What's the scholarship to validate your claims? Now, here's the thing. Not everything is going to be found in a book, number one. Number two, where it becomes pseudo when you're trying to convince somebody of something that you personally experienced and they may not have, and then you get upset when they don't agree with it, like, for an example, the Nubians do, because they want people to believe the bullshit that Dr. York experienced as if it's their reality. You understand what I'm saying? The Nation of Islam wants you to believe what Farrakhan experienced as your reality. So it becomes pseudo because it cannot be scholarly or factually backed up. So I don't have a problem with people having their personal experiences. The problem is when you try to convince others to agree with your personal experience. This is where the separation and the division comes in. But I do accept the fact also that not everything can be found recorded in a book. This is the other problem with the conscious community. Well, where'd you get that from? Where can I research that? You know what the funny thing about it is? I see all these dudes doing PowerPoints, and they're all quoting white scholars. They're giving you white references, and then they want to turn around and tell you the white man's the devil. Then why are you using his references? I don't understand it. I'm talking about Farrakhan. I've seen him do it. I've seen Dr. Reggie do it. Dr. Reggie's notorious for doing that shit. I've seen, what's the dude? Shaka Most, the dude, I think he's gay personally. He's got the braid in his head. I've seen him do it. You understand? And I don't have a fact that if he is. I'm just saying. I don't understand how you can sit here and scream, the white man is the devil, the white man is the devil, but you're using his references to validate your point. When I bring that up, I get demonized for it. You know, why, see, that's the light part of your genes coming out. Look, I've been to every race. You can run the race thing on me. It's comical to me. You can bring all being mixed and inbred and all. You can bring all that up. Once that's away, say what you got to say. Once that's away, let's get down to the nitty gritty. I've heard it all, seen it all. This is what I say, when I go online and some of them try to engage in the debate, when they can't answer my questions, then they retaliate and they get personal. It becomes about race, personal character. I'm like, all right, now that that's out of the way, let's get back to the point. You still ain't answer my question. Okay, because I've heard it all, seen it all. You understand? Been called everything you can think of in the book. It's nothing I haven't heard before. It's irrelevant to me. See, on this path, you become immune to bullshit. None of that stuff affects you no more. You don't care about any of that stuff. So I'm not interested to sit in a lecture for 3 hours and listen to how great we used to be back in the day. I don't care about that no more. How great can we be now? I ain't trying to be broke. I ain't trying to be poor. If I want to get in my car and go have a nice dinner, I don't need to worry about do I have the money or not. I know I'm going to have a nice dinner. And I'm pulling out the card, the cat, whatever, and I'm not worried about what the bill is. See, we want to talk all this royal. We want to connect with Egypt. Who in Egypt was poor? We say we're kings and queens and pharaohs, right? You know any poor pharaohs? Anybody read about poor broke-ass pharaohs? Poor queens and kings? Well, when are we going to start living like queens and kings and pharaohs and stop talking about it? I don't want to talk about it no more. I know the history. It puts me to sleep. It's boring. I don't want to hear about it no more. When do we become it? Now everybody gets quiet. Oh shit. See, the problem is we've gotten so caught up in playing the role that we don't know how to live the role. You understand what I'm saying? That's the problem. Anyway.
But it goes back to people being lazy because they don't want to be the creator. Because to create your wealth, to create your foundation, you got to work.
Of course. But you know what? I don't care if it's the Kemetic conscious people. I don't care if it's the Black Hebrew Israelites. I don't care what group it is. The problem is they're all still in a state of mind waiting for some great cataclysmic event or some wonder where the creator is going to do something to change everything. Now my question to that is, where is the creator? What creator are you talking about?
Why don't they recognize that the creator is within them?
Right. But they're not going to accept that because the Black Hebrew Israelites can't explain anything without using the Bible, so I don't even dialogue with them no more. Prove to me God exists without using the Bible. Now it gets all, see, no, you can't do that. Why you can't do that? Because you're a slave to that book. No, King James was a black man. Please stop. Don't insult my intelligence. There's nowhere scientifically and historically and factually you can validate that point. See, it's easy to take a white man's book and paint all the characters black. See, you know what I call that religion? Dipped in chocolate. See, we like to take shit and dip it in chocolate. So let me take a white man's philosophy and just dip it in chocolate and make all the characters black. And now because I want to be lazy and don't want to do the research, King James was a black man. So now that validates why we have to accept and read this Bible that you're saying was brought to black people. Anyway, it's a waste of time and energy. We don't really want to waste our time with that. But that's a whole other story. Deconstruction and Reconstruction. Let's talk a little bit about that. I know we got a little sidetracked. I'm trying to stay on. It happens. Another key component of this path. Deconstruction. What does the word deconstruction mean? Somebody give me a brief definition.
Break down, scatter, expect.
That's you. This path is about completely deconstructing yourself. Understand that? So when you first come in, you need to do an inventory of yourself. What are good things and good qualities about you? We all have those. So we're not going to paint this gloom and doom picture. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? So there's a little self-realization ritual you can do with a mirror. Just sit in front of a mirror and study your face. You'll be surprised what comes out just in that little personal inner reaction. You start to see through yourself. Emotions and thoughts come to the surface. A lot of shit you did in the past that you feel guilty of will start to come up. You'll start to see good things you did that make you feel good. You'll smile, you'll cry, you'll laugh. You'll have a whole, this is the real you now coming forward. Try this, I'm telling you. The best way to do this, just do it in a lightly dim room, maybe just one candle, and just study your face. Get one of them little mirrors where you can sit at. I mean, I'll get into mirror magic another time. I think we talked about that on the radio, so that's a whole nother. Do this with a regular mirror. And just study and focus on your face and the influx of thoughts, because now it's the inner you looking at the outer you. And the inner you is going to communicate, and you're going to look at you and say, look, you is a phony ass motherfucker. You think you was good at this, but then the good stuff comes out too. You know what? You are compassionate. You might start seeing things you did a couple years back to help family, to help friends. You might see moments in your life that made you feel good, but then you're going to see some shit that you manipulated, not for a beneficial way. Okay? That is deconstructing yourself. That is part of the process of coming to the self-realization to who and what you really are. Because remember this, we talk about this all the time. There's the trinity of self, as we like to call it. There's who you think you are, there's who you want people to see you as, and then there's really who you are. That's the only one that matters. See, most of us spend our lives portraying an image we want everybody to see us as, and that's our downfall. Because if we took that same energy working on who we really were, we can elevate and go places and be successful. But we don't focus on it. So we're busy playing spiritual. Let me get the look down, let me get the braids, and let me get the dreads and wear the African clothes and put on the ankhs and smell good and all that. So now I look at physically, I'm very spiritual looking. And I had one person, I swear to God, I forget where we were. It was a couple years ago in New York. But I said, yeah, that brother's, he's real conscious, right? Because he was dressing all this African shit. So I said, well, let me ask you something, brother. And he took it the wrong way at first. I said, why do you just point that brother out and say that he's conscious? Well, look at him, brother. Look at him, he's got a dashiki. I said, listen, man, how do you know that brother ain't a murderer? I'm trying to bring up a point. So how do you know that brother ain't a womanizer? I said, how do you know that brother don't sell dope? Maybe that's a facade. I bring it up to show him, see how quick we get caught up in illusions? Just because somebody's wearing cultural attire don't make them cultural. But this is the program, and that's hard for us to get at it. Now, some people would look at us, and we're sitting here just wearing jeans and t-shirt, and they would go, them motherfuckers in the world, they don't know nothing. Why? Because you've been programmed to think you need to be dressed and looked a certain way to be conscious? See, I'm saying it works both ways. I don't feel the need. I don't feel the need to wear any of that shit no more. If you do, power to you. I'm not saying don't. All I'm saying is I don't feel the need to wear any of that shit no more. I don't need to. I don't have to prove what I know. I don't need to validate. And here's the other most important thing. I'm not on a mission to convince people to accept what I know. See, that's the tough one to swallow. See, some people believe if I'm a Moor, so now I got to go prove to everybody that what the Moors know is right and what everybody else knows is wrong. You're setting yourself, that's a mission of failure is what I call that. Failure. And you're going to fail, trust me. Not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You understand? See, the difference is, but people say, well, why you stop? Yeah, I stopped the debate thing probably about 4 or 5 years. Why I don't bother debating no more? Because I don't feel no point to it. Because I'm not interested in proving to people to accept what I know. I couldn't care if you do. The only thing I care about is what I do is get results. That's the only thing you should care about. You, and you. With whatever spiritual system you're practicing is giving you results where it's making you a better person, you're successful financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I don't care what it is. It works for you, that's all that matters. So the deconstruction process is doing the stock of yourself. Ask yourself, on a spiritual level, what I've been studying, give yourself a gauge. All right, if you've been part of a spiritual system for 5, 6, 7 years. Can you go back to day one to the present and say, man, there's been tremendous growth? Then you can say, all right, well, this path is doing something for me. If you can't make that claim, then you might want to start looking into something else. Because if you've been doing the same shit for 7, 8, 9, 10 years and nothing's really changed, that's a wake-up call. That's a state of stagnation. You're not growing. This is part of the deconstruction process. Don't stay in something because you like it, or because it's a family tradition, or because I was raised this way. I hear all these bullshit-ass answers. I was raised more. I was raised. So I always say, if you were raised watching your father beat your mother, as a female, you're going to go marry a dude that beats you because you were raised that way? What kind of logic is that? It doesn't make any sense to me. See, that shows me somebody that fears breaking away and embracing change. That's the difference. Change is not comfortable all the time. It's just that. It's change. And that's part of the deconstruction process. So to deconstruct yourself involves all of these different avenues. One must look at every aspect of their life: family, friends, environment, your career or your job, your personal life, your relationship. You might be sleeping with the biggest dead bag of weight that's been holding you down, but you love him because he looks a certain way, or you become comfortable, or like I say, if you just look to groom with people because of looks, and not just, look, there gotta be some physical attraction, that's not what I'm saying. But if you just go with somebody, they could be the sexiest, the most handsome thing in the world, but they could be dumb as rocks, and you produce dumbass kids. Did you ever think of that? Yeah, the person looks good, but the seeds that you're producing are genetically stupid. So we get caught up in the emotional things. You have to do a check on all these things. Once you've done that, you can take a list if you want. The correct way to do is make a list. Now you've got a detailed list. What do I do? Now I know what I need to do to reconstruct myself. So once you've deconstructed, the deconstruction is going to give you the reconstruction list automatically. So now you got a list of shit you got to fix. Now here comes the challenge though. Now that you've recognized it, are you willing to take the steps to correct it and change it? Now many people have, it's not that it's complicated to go through the deconstruction part and access what you need to work on. The hard part is taking the initiative to fix the shit. Because some people get complacent. They get comfortable in doing things. Well, I've been with that person for 10, 15 years. I can't leave them. Why? Look, I get this all the time. This is my favorite in a consultation. And I love the look on a female or a male's face. It's always the relationship. I love the relationship issue. And they're expecting some long, deep, heavy answer I'm going to give them to say, yeah, man, I'm in a bad relationship. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get out. So I said, just leave. And then I just don't say anything. And they go, well, no, you don't understand. It's not that easy. It's not that easy because you are not making it that easy. I get it. There's kids involved. I get it. So you're willing to stay in a horrible relationship, be miserable for the rest of your life because there's kids involved. And I'm speaking from a person that went through it with my older son. I'm not speaking out my ass. You understand? So you're willing to stay in a horrible situation. The question you need to ask yourself, what's making you complacent that you can't take the initiative to live? So then it's the money. Well, you see, it's money. Oh, so now you've said, because of the convenience, and now you're willing to stay miserable because of the money. That's where the change comes in. So if you're not willing to find an avenue, and it might be tough, after it's all said and done, you'll be a lot more happier. See, I don't ever do ritualistic work. I've talked about this before. I'm going to say, I had a sister come to me a couple months ago. Okay, I want to bring this up because this is important. And I never reveal clients' information name. Just be discreet about it. And she says, yeah, I got this crazy dude, stalking me, and I'm trying to get rid of him. I said, okay. Now, as she's talking to me, I already know there's more to the story, and she's lying to me. I already know this. So I said, okay, well, tell me about this dude. Yeah, he tried to come into my house while I wasn't there. He broke in through my side window or whatever. I can't get rid of him, this and that. I said, all right, let's cut to the bullshit. What is it you're doing? This dude is not going to go to this length and be this crazy if there's not something you are not giving him. Oh, okay, well, what it is, he's been paying my bills, he's been giving me money, and then I stopped. I just started to cut him off. Okay. let's cut to the chase. You've been giving him a piece of pussy for some money. You got some money, now you cut him off. You ain't giving him no pussy no more, right? Yeah, no. I said, let me ask you a question. Did you really think that when you stopped that he was just going to cease and just disappear and turn the other way? I'm going to show you how people create their own problems, but want to play the victim like they're innocent. I need help. Some crazy dude is stalking me, but you are the root of your own problem. All right? So then it goes to, well, every time I go to work or I try to find work, he stops me. Of course he does, because he wants you to be dependent on him. So as long as he knows you ain't got nothing but him, and as soon as you make the initiative to become self-dependent and do for self and say you don't need his money, they ain't going to act crazy. You understand? So now you cut him off. You ain't giving him no more ass. You understand? But here's the worst part. But she still wanted the dude to pay her bills, and she cut him off from giving him ass. I said, good luck with that one. So I say, here's the reality. You want to do work to fix that? You can do work to fix that. But here's the problem. It never works out in your favor, because that shit's going to come full circle back on you. I told her, I can fix that for you, no problem. But I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Because in essence, you are the root of your own problem. What that does is just create a temporary fix. I don't ever recommend, and I turn away people that want to try to get a person back to. First of all, why do you want a motherfucker back that doesn't want you? Anytime, if you don't give me a logical answer, I can't help you with that. So wait, hold on. You got somebody that basically told you they don't want nothing to do with you. They want to completely distance themselves, but you are so distraught that you're willing to do work to get somebody back that doesn't want you? Now listen to how crazy that shit sounds. This is what I'm saying, deconstruction. There's the disconnect. There becomes a dependency that we have created within ourselves, where we feel the need, where that insecurity kicks in, where we feel like we can't function without, whether it's a person, a situation, whatever it may be. This is all part of deconstructing. Now look, I want to be clear on this, because some people get the illusion, and who was I? Was I having this conversation with you? It might have been Jack. I don't know who I was talking to this about. Somebody. People think on this path, somebody go, oh, so you guys don't meditate? This is the best. You guys don't meditate? Of course. We don't meditate the way you meditate. Of course we meditate, we visualize, we do all those spiritual things. This path is about helping people, but people that want it. There's a difference between helping somebody and thinking you're saving the world. It's two different things. I'm saying be compassionate to those that are deserving of compassion. But if a motherfucker's your enemy out to harm you, have no compassion in destroying that person. I say that with conviction. And not have any remorse about it. Okay? Because you know how many people come in and want to do work to eliminate somebody that's done something bad to them and then start having second doubts about it? Stop. We're not going to do it then. You understand? If somebody has set out to harm you and you know you're in the right, you're going to have the upper hand. And it can be dealt with successfully. But once you start feeling guilty, or your conscience kicks in and you start feeling, oh, I don't know if I should do that, I stop. Don't do it. Don't even set foot. So just as quick as people are deserving of compassion, don't let your guard down. It is about helping people. You understand? It is about the youth. All those things apply on this path, but we just put it into a whole, different perspective. The thing is, we know, the old saying, pick your battles. We know when and where and how. But if you cross the line, it's over. This is how it works. This is the reality. We got to stop playing these spiritual illusionary games because we identify with something because it's comfortable. I study Egyptian consciousness. Wonderful. So do I. For over 20-something years. The difference between you study it, I live it. It's two different things. I don't play Egyptian by reading books all day and then coming out and breaking down Pharaoh, Utmos, and the dynasties of Egypt. That's great. But the difference is I can take Heka, Egyptian magic, and make it work for me. See, I take Heka. I don't just read Egyptian history. Heka, look it up. We did a whole thing on that. I work Heka on a daily basis. That's the difference. You read about it, I work it. That's the difference. So that's where the line comes. That's where the separation comes. And then if you're even more spooked out ways, oh, that's black magic. It's not white folks that are spooked out about this. It's black folks. Because you're going to find more white folks connect with this because they don't think that this is bizarre. Now ask yourself that question. It's black folks that are spooked out because it's not the Most High and Shalom, my brother, Alafia. You know, it's not all that because that's shit that makes them feel comfortable. So when you start talking black magic, wait a minute, black magic, ain't that like slitting the necks of goats and blood on altars? No, because you're stupid. You don't know, you haven't done your research. That's not what we mean.
Can you give us a couple more examples of, you've heard of deconstruction, like using a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Give us some more examples of the deconstruction tools and then the tools that we use to reconstruct.
Right.
Chakra work.
Yeah, chakra work is really good because, all right, you can look at your habits and determine what chakras are not functioning correctly. All right. If you can't keep money, if your finances are jacked up, or if money comes in one hand, goes out the other hand quick, your root chakra's out of whack. Okay? See, the problem is most of us struggle because we want the crown chakra and the pineal gland to be functioning, but we're not rooted in the root chakra. If you're not rooted in the root chakra, how in the world can you think any of that stuff's going to work? So some people are just not connected. Now, how you can, reconstruct that? Deconstruction is identifying. Let's say we're talking about that with finances. Real simple thing you can do. Take your shoes off. Go to anywhere where there's grass or sand. Walk through it. I'm saying walk through it barefoot. And you know how we used to make snow angels, like when we were kids? Lay in the ground with your shoes off and do that thing, how you make the, whatever you call it, angel marks, wings, yeah. What this does is it grounds you with the magnetic current of the planet. Okay, I'm telling you, it works. What it does is it connects you to the root chakra, because remember, the root chakra is grounded in the earth, okay, or the elementals. When you work with the hoodoo and the voodoo spirits, you're working with elementals. When you're working with finances, rocks, water, crystals, soil, earth, that all deals with finances and money, connecting you and grounding you in the root chakra. Because I don't care what anybody say, without money you can't do shit. So you can talk all that spiritual shit you want to me all day, but how you going to talk that to me and you can't even reach in your pocket and pull out $20? So you're not a living example of the information you study. Yes, and I will judge it based to an extent on your status. It has to be. You can't tell me you got all this knowledge and information, but it's not a reflection in your life. I have a problem with that.
Give us another example of reconstruction with the chakras if you're off-centered.
If you're what?
If you're not centered, if you're not...
All right, well, if you're...
First you got to get grounded. That's mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
You must be grounded.
Grounded part.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go in and then you start cleaning up and correcting. That's what he's saying. So if it's like finances, then you start maybe creating a budget, start being a little bit more disciplined, and that'll start clearing up your root chakra.
Now, that's an excellent point. And that's a good point, because even basic things like that, creating a budget. I mean, look, seriously, some people live outside of their means. So you might be the person.
Like candle. like candle.
Yeah.
I got one for you, girl.
Some people, problem is so simple that they just exceed their means, and they don't want to accept the reality of it. They might want to live a lifestyle that might not be conducive to their means. It could be that simple. So that's where a budget would come in. It's not how much money you have, it's how you control your spending.
And it could be the fear of it as well.
Yeah.
Because that also lies in the root.
Mm-hmm.
And it can also contribute to the lack of
Mm-hmm.
the fear
Mm-hmm.
of the life.
Now, being self-centered, that's personal. Because self-centered is going to vary from individual to individual. So self-centered on where you need to be grounded, that's where you want to kind of look into the heart chakra, and that's where you kind of want to look into what we call the pineal gland or the brow chakra, whatever you want to call it. Usually it's calcified. When you're off-centered, usually your pineal gland is calcified. Decalcification, when you practice alchemy, or you take, as we have talked about in numerous classes, spiritual alchemy for personal transformation. The philosopher's stone, you heard about this in alchemy, that's you. The stone you're working on is you. Because they use the alchemy analogies of transformation, the scientific aspects, you take it and apply it to yourself spiritually. That's what Freemasonry is really about. As I told y'all before, when a Mason walks into the lodge and he looks in the east, you got two stones, one on the left, one on the right. You have a rough ashlar and you have a smooth ashlar. The rough ashlar represents you when you come into the lodge. Just like when you guys come here and do the rituals, you are the rough ashlar. You enter the lodge a rough ashlar, but you finish a smooth ashlar. So that's a representation of you. That's alchemical, or alchemy. And if you really break it down, in that word is the Hebrew word alchem, which people call Kemet or Egypt. Because when you say you're dealing with Kemet, you're a chemeticist. You're a scientist. I don't like to use that word because it's Hebraic. So Egypt at no point was ever called Kemet. You cannot show me anywhere on any historical document where Egypt was referred to as Kemet. The ancient Egyptians never called themselves Kemet. They never called themselves Egyptians. Word didn't even exist. Egyptos is a Greek word. It means land of burnt faces. The Egyptian title was given to the Greeks who came into Egypt, invaded, and mixed with the Nubians. So no ancient Egyptian, I'm using that term because we know, nobody ever called themselves an Egyptian. So now, again, we're connecting with Greek and European culture, and we're walking around like we're pro-black. But when you address that shit, you get demonized because how you going to play black when you're not even taking it back to the essence? We were never called Egyptians. We were never called Kemet or Kemetians. Why are we using these terms today? I've heard, well, it's what people can identify. So is your interest what people can identify with, or is your interest teaching the truth? Then don't say you're teaching the truth because you're not teaching the truth, whether you like it or not. So you're teaching some watered down bullshit, but then on a flip note, you want to come around and talk all this white man's the devil shit, and white man this, and the white man that. It's just tired. It's tiring and it's played out. I know I don't want to hear it no more. You understand? Because at the end of the day, we're back to square one. You still got people on YouTube. Do I really want to sit and watch a debate between the black Hebrew Israelites and the Kemetic community? No. Who wants to sit and listen to a bunch of Bible babble and Egyptian history back and forth? One's attacking the other's attacking it, blah, 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 blah. Boring. When I can be doing work on myself. When I can do rituals. What's the purpose of rituals? This is part of a huge part of it. What you did last night was reconstruction. Because the word ritual means to transform. When you're doing rituals, you're not doing rituals because you're part of some occult group and you're playing occultist. You're doing a ritual because you want to transform some aspect of yourself. So what you did last night was part of the reconstruction process. Because when you did the oath, I want to get feedback on that. I want to get feedback on the ritual. I didn't get a chance to. Somebody give me feedback. What was your experience on it? I want to go through everybody that was there. Brief. You ain't got to get into detail. Sugar ran there.
Well, I can definitely, last night, feel the shifts in energy.
All right.
Completely went back and forth. But my own personal experiences today, I kept having visions and scenes of, I would say, what would be my past energies.
Okay. And that's good.
Yeah. So I've started to notice those things.
And that'll probably pick up and intensify, and that's good. And that's what I was saying last night. You're going to start seeing stuff like that, and it'll evolve into more stuff. And I noticed, first thing I picked up with you, at first, not that it was resistance, it was the energy around you, but then you just started to, I saw you started to, especially with the drumming part, I saw you just started to kick into it, and I was like, all right, you reached the point where you just kind of let it flow. You understand? And that's important. But that's good.
Last night felt, it started like you said, peaceful. It was a peaceful descent, and then all of a sudden it was all over the place. It felt terrible, and I went to sleep, and I was
Yeah, I saw you.
shit floating around, and then I woke up today, and I'm like, okay, what's gonna come? Because I know it's around me somewhere. I'm waiting for it to hit me.
That's right.
It's-
Okay. And that's good too. What about you, Angela?
I find that.
I'm sorry.
Forget you.
Dominique.
Forget you. Forget you. But I find that when I come in a lot of times, I have to shut everybody out. So I like to close my eyes. I like
That's
to
good,
hold my corner.
that's fine.
And I felt the energy was, I don't know if it was as, I usually like the energy, but to me it was not as conducive to what I normally like. And I had to kind of push it through
Okay, but did you look at that as what was going on inside?
within me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I've been aware of a number of different things, and I think today it came into play. I know that because I carry a lot of energy,
Right.
I feel a lot of energy,
right,
and I'm aware of constant movement within my own self on different planes.
right,
So I find part of what I've been aware of with the Holy There is, and I heard it inside of our early conversation, because I create my own world,
yeah,
I sometimes forget that other people don't participate in everything.
there you go, that's
And
important.
it's not realistic sometimes for me to think that they understand where I am, you know? It's my
Exactly,
world, and only
Right.
my world.
that's right,
And sometimes it can appear like I'm harsh because I'm going to talk from my world. Shit, you're talking from your shit.
Right,
I'm
right,
talking
right.
from mine.
Exactly.
You know, but I'm more aware of it now to remember and recall that these people ain't a part of that.
and that's that, you have to get to that point,
Yeah.
because it makes it easier for you to deal with people.
And that's where I came to.
Right.
So even this afternoon, it's here and I can see certain things. And I like to consider that, like I'm sharing with my sister here, that I'm like a bunch of onions right now. I'm a bag of onions, and it layers to this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes there's tears. I was sitting there last week, I was driving down the road and just tears come out my eyes. I'm like, fuck, bitch. You know, this is not happening now.
Yeah, man.
And people are looking at me in their car and I'm like, screw.
That's how it works
We
now.
have a partner, you know. But at the same time, it's like an excitement that comes when you see it, even though there's an anticipation. It's hard. Sometimes I find it more challenging to ride the energy with it.
Right.
And that's why I asked, how do you become more centered? Because I'm aware of things that are happening.
Right,
And I know that there's so many influences inside of it.
right.
You know, I realize that I kind of ride the wave inside some retrogrades, inside of the planetary, the moon, different things.
Sure.
And before I would have looked at it and said, oh, it's female hormones. Ain't no female hormones.
No.
It's just life.
That's right.
You
And
know?
that's good, because the key with this, again, which we always mention on this path, it's always challenges you, and that challenging part keeps you sharp.
Mhm.
You need a little fear, not fear where you're just like a straight punk. That's not the fear I'm talking about. Fear the unknown, that little bit of anxiety, of anticipation, whatever you want to call it. All of those things keep you sharp. And the challenging part is a beautiful thing, because you don't get complacent on this path.
Yeah.
You can't see, the problem is when you do the same thing every day, day in and day out.
That's how you kind of tap in, isn't it?
Exactly, how you tap in.
I know, when I put that mask on, I felt that same descent of anxiety kicking, like the last ritual we did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I love
when
the book.
we were doing that one, I don't know about anybody else, but my anxiety kicked in from a lot of shit just immediately.
And that's, I'm not, I don't say it's, not that it's good, we don't want nothing to happen to you, but it is good because,
It started triggering things.
right, it's gonna trigger things that you need to deal with, address. You can never be successful at anything in life until you don't address the things that are holding you back. You can't bury them. You can't become something, just because, like we say, you might become, a Buddhist or get initiated in Ifa. That's not going to make the bullshit about yourself go away. All you're doing is just masking it. So it's still going to rise to the surface, not a matter if, it's a matter of when. The difference, again, the deconstruction, reconstruction, this path addresses it right from the get-go. We tell you there is no moving forward until you address it. So you can do all the rituals you want, you can do all the candle magic you want, you can do all those things, none of it's going to work because you didn't do the groundwork. Until you do the groundwork first, you will not get no results in those areas. That's how it works. This is not a path of promise. See, some people think they're gonna light a candle and bam, everything's gonna be taken care of for them. That's not how it works. So.
One thing I recall, right when you guys started drumming, you said to go ahead and move.
Right.
My legs felt like cement.
Okay. That was something trying to resist.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to let go.
No, but well, I mean, we'll talk about that. When the drums started kicking in, what happens is, like she was describing, not all rituals are like last night, obviously, but the rituals are constructed around what the energy represents. And the reason why it's in that format, like you say, it started out, Cali was almost similar. It starts out kind of in that format and then gets intense because that's how that energy is. There's a very spiritual aspect of it, very, because it's you gotta invoke, because it really represents what's going on in here. So once you tap into it, it's beautiful because you're like, there's a sense of I'm getting ready to tap into something. So now that the feeling has come, that I've now approached the point that I'm getting ready to tap in, then the second part kicks in. This is what you just tapped in, bam. And then everybody has their own personal experience. Now the implements, if you do the research on the Holy Death, the herbs, the rum, and the cigar, that actually goes back. Remember, the Holy Death goes back to the Aztec underworld goddess. Forget the Catholicism aspect that you know about. That's not what we're tapping into. It goes back to Anubu or Anubis in ancient Egypt. They're the same archetypes. Remember, these stories and archetypes just changed from culture to culture. They just changed the name of it. So when it got to the Aztecs, they just took the Anubis name and changed it into something that they could identify with in their language and their culture. That's all. So this path is about tapping into all of those avenues. That's why in the ritual last night you heard the mentioning of Anubu, Alegua, because they're all road opener paths. They all represent a similar archetype. See, that's what's unique about this. People say, how can you take all that and combine it? Because I'm not limited. I'm not a slave to a spiritual system. I control the system. I don't let the spiritual system control me. That's the difference. So when you got to exclusively become Ifa, you're a slave to the system. When you got to exclusively become a Buddhist, you're a slave to the spiritual system. When I'm only Kemetic in Egypt, I ain't studying nothing else, then stop saying you're African, because Egypt is not the only part of Africa. How come you're not connected in the primitive part of Africa? You want to know why? Because there's no glory in that. There's no pyramids. There's not all this beautiful thing. How come you're not saying I'm representing the Pygmies or I'm representing the Watusis? Because there's no glory in that. And that shit predates Egypt, because those were the Neolithic people that occupied the Nile area before there was any pyramids even built. There wouldn't be any Egyptians if there wasn't no Pygmies and Watusis and Neolithics. Do research on the Neolithics. They occupied the Nile region before anything in Egypt was ever built or put up. That's what we go back to. There's a difference. So, but you want to talk history and sit here and say we're the original Egyptians. That's why I don't lay claim. I am not an original Egyptian. Neither do I want to be an original Egyptian. Shit we're dealing with and tapping into goes way beyond that. And this path is not limited to modern day. It's a whole other story. What are you going to say? And I want to get yours perspective and then yours. What's that? What's all that? Ben, say what you're going to say.
Remember I said the anxiety thing tapping in is the way it's tapping in? You ever been in a sensory deprivation thing?
No.
Yeah, where so Mother's Day, I treat myself to one. The tank was red. And the minute I seen it, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm going to be in there fighting something.
Right.
So I go in there and I feel that anxiety because I'm in the dark. The music cuts out and all of a sudden I'm there in my mind. It was the weirdest experience. I was in there, the same shit we just did in the ritual, all that shit was attacking me there. When I got out, I didn't fuck. Like, it was like I was purging myself because I didn't eat anything else.
Yeah.
After that, it's kind of like I had weird night dreams of like, that's how I get my rituals when I'm coming down here.
But you know what? Here's the beauty about it. You know, now after you start practicing this system successfully, you start looking at everything different. You start looking at people different. You start perceiving things different. Shit that used to bother you doesn't bother you anymore. Shit that used to get you mad and frustrated doesn't get you mad. You know why? But here, one thing I struggle with. Here's the stuff I struggle with, because I'm human. I got a lot of shortcomings. I got a lot of things I got to work on about myself. I can deal with the complex stuff. You know what bothers me? And I don't know what it is, and I'm working on it. Like, if you, like, let me give you an example, my oldest son. If you leave a crumb on the kitchen counter, that fucking bothers me. And that's not OCD. I'm not that type of bother. It's just like, to me, the simple things that I feel like people should just know better, you know what I mean, gets under my skin now more. And I know it's part of the transformational part of this path. Now, something like where you're sitting, God, forbid, that roof can just cave in, wouldn't bother me. I'd be more interested in figuring out why it caved in. I would be calm and collective about it. But if you went back there and didn't flush the toilet bowl, I'd probably come out here in a rage. I know why I feel like that, because I know the shift in emotions and consciousness that this path creates. But now the struggle is just as easy as the difficult things don't bother you. Now you got to figure out a method of the simple things not bothering. That's a challenge for me. And I sometimes catch myself yelling at my oldest son for this stuff. And I had to catch myself the other day. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I'm on my way home and he calls me. He puts the key in the lock. It's a deadbolt on the front door of the house. And he says he sticks the key in. And after a while, the deadbolt goes bad. The import side comes out and the bearings just. So the way he was explaining it to me, I already knew what he meant. But I got frustrated because the way he was explaining it to me was wrong. And I'm like, you're supposed to know how to explain it because you stuck the key in it. I had to catch myself. Now, this might seem trivial and small, but I'm using this as an example of when we talk about emotions, shift of energy, all of that. It's a lot to deal with because just as, like I say, it's great when you can recognize it, but it's more of a challenge to make the adjustment. In my experience, I don't think the recognition part is the tough part. I think we all get to a point where we recognize, but I think the challenging part is fixing it. That's the hard part. And I struggle with small stuff like that. You understand? On a daily basis, I know I got a bad temper. I'm the type of person, there ain't no in between with me. I'm either good or I'm going off the deep end. So I know never to put myself in a point. There's no all right, you can push and push. I'm either good with you or I'm not. There's no in between. I don't have an in between mode. So I know when I deal with certain situations, I have to curb that anger because I know where it can go. That's a challenge. You understand? But at the same token, I also know if I'm in a dire, dangerous situation, I could tap into that anger and use it to my beneficial. To see what I'm saying? That's reconstruction. That's right. Deconstruction, reconstruction. That's what that is. So anger isn't a bad thing. It's just how it's facilitated. So when people tell you, don't be mad, don't be upset, bullshit. That's the biggest lie they can tell you. Be upset, get it out, vent it. Because keeping it in, persistence leads to resistance. Can't do that. This path is about working with all of those energies, emotions. So, your experience.
I blacked out. I don't even.
You always do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to sit here and remember my experience. I was gone.
You get
I
caught in
wasn't
it. I see that. Especially when you were drumming last night. Okay.
I don't even
He
remember.
went from the little drum to the big drum, but he's like, just gone.
And actually, I must say, without Mike being here last night, the other Mike, you did a good job, man. I'm not just saying that. I'm not stroking your ego because you know I'm not that dude. If it was horrible, I'd pull you aside and be like, yo, Jay, skills are dusty, man. We got to work on it. But it was really good. You did a really good job. Jack did a good job. Mike's good because I've been drumming with Mike for many years. About probably want to say since 05. Yeah, we've been doing this. I've been drumming with him for about 12 years. I'm trying to get my oldest son here. His work schedule, my oldest son will put all of us to shame. Trust me when I tell you. This dude is a wizard on that one. You give him some congas and djembes, and he can take 3 or 4 of them at one time and just go off. I mean, I'm telling you, he's nasty. It's just in his blood. I mean, it's in my blood. I passed it to him, but he put me to shame. I try to keep up with him. Sometimes we have drum offs in front of the altar. And I'll try to keep I'll play a rhythm, and I'll stop and I'll let him go. But he'll just go boom, bang, start doing the elbow shit. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'll try to kick him. I want to try to get him here because he's a really good drummer, man. I'm not just saying that because he's my son. he's a really good drummer. But Mike's really good too, because he's the type of drum that he got. He keeps it, he keeps the rhythm going. But no, he was good. I know you black out. I want to hear from a youth. Share with us from a young man's perspective. What goes through your mind? What are you thinking about when you do it? And how old are you again? 12 years old, and he's doing black magic rituals. Anyway, go ahead. You don't got to get detailed.
I don't really see.
You blacking out too?
Give you some encouragement.
I know you guys talk about it.
Yeah. My whole thing, like I be explaining to you, like he the upgrade.
Right.
So anything I'm doing, he gonna do it, and he enjoys it. He don't know how to articulate it, like just say what he's experiencing.
Right.
So he'll say little stuff, and I know, okay, that came from the ritual. Like he had the experience where when you was about to dream, when you were sleeping, you couldn't move. It wasn't really sleep paralysis or the witch riding his back, but he had a spiritual experience. He felt like someone was in the room with him, and he was spooked, and so it's a lot of things going on with him that he don't know why this is happening.
Right, and let me tell you what that is. The good thing about somebody at your age, here's the upside to starting young. You're being deprogrammed of all that nonsense and garbage that most kids are exposed to. So you're not going to be able to really retain a lot of it right now. But what's happening is, whether you're conscious of it or not, I'm telling you because I see this in the ritual all the time, especially with you. What's happening is it's like reprogramming this computer that had a virus. It's just, the thing is, you're being given the right software. You never had the virus, you understand? See, we all had the virus. We all were raised up in some form of religion or some spiritual system that wasn't conducive to us. You're getting the benefit of not having to go through that nonsense. So you're going to have a lot of experiences like that, what you're talking about there. It's going to get more intense. But the good thing with you that's going to be different from everybody else, it's going to be easier for you to adapt. I'm telling you that because my son, I got two sons. My son's 24 years old, and he was never exposed. We're all exposed to it to a certain extent in the world, but I'm saying he didn't grow up in a religious environment. He grew up around this. This is all he knows. So he doesn't have that mindset. I mean, the stuff I went through with him, and I've shared it with people here, when he was younger in school, I had to literally go down to schools because he wouldn't cooperate, like with lunch prayer. And they were saying they wanted to give him Ritalin and shit. And I told them they could go fuck themselves because there's nothing wrong with my son. He don't need Ritalin because he's not agreeing with some shit you're saying. Because back then, that's what they would want to do. Anytime your kid wasn't behaving, they wanted to shoot him up with Ritalin. I'm like, you can give my son Ritalin. So you're in that environment, and the good thing is I see it in my son. When I look at my son, it's a different breed. It's a different warrior mentality. It's a beast you don't want to awake because it's an individual that knows. Like, there's no fear. Like, when I look at you, I don't see no fear. When I look at my son, I don't see no fear. They're not afraid. Because everything that was going to be imposed upon them, they were already warned about it before it even happened. And I make sure, I got another one now, my 3-year-old, I swear there's an old man trapped in that body. The stuff that this little guy, I kid you not, 3 years old. I'm not just saying this because my son. I'm on a computer, and he sees I'm listening to music on YouTube, traditional Egyptian music, right? And you know how when you're watching some of them videos, they have images that just flash while the music's playing? So they're showing all these different pictures of Egypt, and he's like, pyramids, he's naming all this stuff. So I'm sitting there saying to myself, he's only 3, I don't really get too much into it with him at this point. I just let him absorb it. So I had asked my wife, I said, did you talk to him about any of this stuff? She said, no, he sees it, I mentioned it. I said, but he's just naming all this stuff. He's naming Anubu. Now I know he hears us say it sometime, but I'm saying to myself, I was happy he's retaining it. I say he's retaining it. I'm bringing that up because now genetically, this is how you break the chain of slavery. When does it stop? It stops. That's how we stop it. Because when we give birth to our seeds now, we correct it. We put a stop to it. So what happens is genetically, is if you produce more babies, right? You pass that genetically into him. As he gets older and he produces his own seed, it's going to be even stronger than him. So now it goes from you, who you went through hell, still going through hell, and still overcoming hell, personal hell I'm talking about, not religious hell. He ain't gonna have half of that battle. Not saying he ain't gonna have hardship, but he's gonna have more of an awareness. Now, when he passes it on to his seed, that seed's gonna be even strong. I don't even want to see what that seed looks like. How that seed, man. This is how we break that chain.
You know what else you just said something that's key that he do? That, and I know he retaining information because it's our thing to go to the movies. When we see we can find metaphysics and he be decoding, he be lining up stories that he done probably heard from you that he don't even realize.
That's good. That's good.
Daddy, that's what's the name of this and that and this.
Right.
I'm like, hold on.
That's the recognition part.
Yeah, I'm like, we don't. I don't know where you getting that from.
You don't have to. He's picking it up himself.
Yeah. See, he just be picking up on stuff that we don't. I guess he hear you talking about it.
No, it's not just me. You're not just hearing me talking about it. Remember, the rituals transform. When you start performing this path successfully, a certain level of awareness just naturally kicks in. Let me tell you something. When I was coming up through it, I would just be. I was starting to get answers to shit that I didn't know where. Like, I didn't study that. There would be a class. What's going on? Somebody asked me a question on something. Boom, the answer would just come because immediately I would activate something in my subconscious mind that I might have connected through something else. It may not have been directly through what was asked, but there was something that connected to what was asked. And what happens is the mind starts to get disciplined and things just start to click. It's like a sequence. So what I'm bringing that up because what he's retaining here from class, what he's picking up from the rituals and what the time that you're spending with him personally, all of this is like meshed into this big concoction, this big formula that's deprogramming all of this. So it might seem like, man, where did he get that from out of the blue? It's getting it because it's just naturally being embedded in him now. That's the difference. So it's not just, it's all of those things. I'm telling you that because I witnessed it with my children, the same thing. Like I look at my son can't watch nothing without decoding it. Any movie, TV show, he'll turn on YouTube. Like we watch just for comical reasons. We sit here and dissect all these conscious community channels. Sarnetta, we'll put Sarnetta on, listen to the nonsense, and we just like break it down. Like look at the blah blah blah, and he'll decipher. He'll be like, nah, he was wrong about that, blah blah. And it's just that's good because that's deconstruction. Mm-hmm. Because now when somebody comes at him with information, he has now deconstructed it, but now he's gonna reconstruct it for your ass. And the thing is, you may not like how he reconstructs it because it may not fit in accordance with your personal ideology. This is where debates start. Because we get rubbed the wrong way when our ideologies get crushed. So I don't like what you said because I've been studying this for 20 years and it doesn't line up with what I believe. To fuck with what you believe, I'm not interested in what you believe. I'm telling you what it is. Now you don't think we went through that same? Look, when it first came to us, because remember in the early years, I was into that whole consciousness, the militant thing, bitter against the world. It's about out here against the system, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the whole nine. You don't think it was a hard pill to swallow when I realized doing those things for all those years, I didn't really have the truth that I thought I had. I thought I had a lock on the truth. And the hardest pill to swallow was when it hit me one day and said, you know what? You really don't know shit. You thought you knew shit. Thinking and knowing is two different things. See, a lot of people think they know something. And then there's people that really know something. And I've learned to figure that out. And that wasn't an easy pill to swallow early on, but I got over it. I moved on. I'm able to suppress that part of the ego, because the ego can be beneficial. The ego is what protects you, keeps you safe, keeps you alive. But the ego can also destroy you. You understand? When you become self-centered to the point where you know you're wrong, but you're going to be so resistant and fight it to the end. That's bad part of ego. Ego can protect you when arrogance needs to kick in, when you got to put an ass whooping on somebody. That's a good part of ego. You understand? Because that protects you. Ego can protect you when you're protective of your children. That's a good part of your ego. You understand? So it works both aspects. All right, we got about 15, 20 more minutes. Anybody have any questions? Oh, Sonia. Yeah, we didn't get your tape.
Okay. I want to hear about yours.
Yeah. Oh shit.
There's nothing to tell.
There's nothing to tell.
There's nothing to tell. Y'all already know that's some of my statue was on the table. You can have that crap. That was that's y'all already work with the whole day.
Very successful, I might
That's
add.
my shit. Yeah,
Very.
that's all I can say. That's my shit.
I found a really good one from the Mexican grocery store. She got them imported from Mexico. They're like big giant ones. When I seen it sitting there, I didn't have the money. A couple days later, I did. I kissed him. I said, "I'll be back for you." I came. Mexican dude flipped out. I seen me today. He said, "She's back."
She's
crazy
back.
lady that kissed the statue today.
Yeah, I'll leave it. I'm just messing with her. I ain't gonna get into detail, but some of the I ain't gonna get into detail. When we first got together, a lot of the work that we did and she did on her own afterwards. She's had a lot of success with the Holy Death. Trust me.
Thomas, was it Thomas Prower? Is that the other book that you guys found?
Yeah, Thomas Prower and to me, Conjure Man Ali.
I
Well, I'm
know.
trying to get on the radio show, but he keeps traveling. And Conjure Man Ali, because he takes it to the essence. He addresses the surface bullshit about it, the mainstream Catholicism garbage, and then he takes it back to, the Aztecs in Egypt and Africa.
I haven't been able to find a physical copy of the Conjure Man Ali, but I did have it on like the script account, where you can
Script.
copies.
Yeah. You can't find a hard copy? Go on to Mystic.
The only way I think it is on Scribe. I've tried.
You go to Mystic Sisters. I'm not Mystic
No.
Sisters. Seven Sisters.
There's a place in the UK said it was like $7.99, but
You
people
can't
have-
find it.
people have been saying that they never received their copies, so I guess they getting scammed out of money.
Yeah, don't do that.
I just screenshot it and then printed it out. So
The Holy Death. The reason why I chose that. Now, what I'm getting ready to do, hopefully down the road, I just don't know how people are going to react to it. A full vampiric mass.
Yeah, they're not ready for it.
I just don't know if anybody's ready for that yet.
It'll have to be a group. It'll have to be a group.
I got to feel that out
Like,
because
I listen.
it has to be a very. I know we're adults, but they have to be adults.
you have to be adult.
Because I don't have patience for that type of
Me neither.
fuckery. I really
Me,
don't.
I don't either. So.
are you predator or prey?
I don't.
Because the objective is you need to experience every part of this path. You need to tap into every aspect of the energies. Most of us, I'm gonna tell you everybody in this room, is vampiric by nature. When I say, if you're confused at what I'm talking about, I just want to make this clear. I'm not talking about vampires drinking blood and all that shit, okay? Let's get that out of the way. Real vampiric spiritual process is about absorbing energies. It's very ritualistic. The only aspect that you have to be careful of, in a mature way, it does heighten the sexual level. And it could bring out the freak in some people. I hate to say it, but that's the reality.
Touch in the face.
Huh? I'm just saying. It vampiric spiritual practices tap into high spiritual intensity on a spiritual level. It's very emotional too. It can be very emotional. So you think a lot of shit comes to the surface in other practices. This is good, but it's very. It's like getting hit with a boulder and you don't see it coming. Like you're walking and a boulder just falls. It's the best way I could describe it. And there is a heightened sexuality to it. Kali is the ultimate black vampiric goddess. And those that really study Kali know there's a whole sex magical ritual or practice with Kali. That's why in this path we uphold Kali. We don't work with that Hindu, Indian, fluffy garbage, watered down version of Kali. That's not real Kali energy. Kali means black. That's all it means, the black mother goddess. When you really look, because remember the Dravidians, who we're calling the Hindus or the Indians today, the Hindus, remember the Dravidians were African. That's why I brought Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum on the show. He broke that whole thing down. The real Dravidians, what we know, the Hindu culture you're seeing today at once was original African culture. Just got watered down. Kali being the most intense, and those that know have worked with her, Kali is, I always use the best way I can describe it. I always use, she's that mother when she's teaching the child how to swim. Her way of teaching the child is just throw them in the pool, swim. That's how Kali works. Callie will bring out all of your heightened sexuality. Anything you want to experience, Callie will bring it out. A lot of us have sexual hang-ups, let's be real. It's taboo in consciousness. Nobody talks about it. Conscious circles still promote this, I am your king, this is my queen. But you know what the funny thing is? All these conscious circles promote polygamy for the man, when polygamy was first practiced by women. Now, that's a hard pill for some men to swallow. I say, if a man can have 5 wives and a woman can have 5 husbands, and if you don't like that, don't practice the shit. See, now everybody gets quiet. And I've had arguments with brothers with this in the conscious circle. Same way I've had arguments with brothers, the black woman is God. Well, then where's all the black female teachers that the black woman is God? Because most men that are standing up there teaching the black woman is God, they're prepping you females to get in your pants. That's all they're doing. You want to know why? Because we used to do that years ago. That's all it is, trust me. Any person that's standing up there ranting for hours about how the black woman's God, the black woman is God, that's prep. They're trying to get in your pants. That's all it is. Trust me when I tell you. Because I simply raised, it was about 2 years ago, we were having this discussion. I don't even know if Sa-Netta was actually there. I know Sa-Netta, what's that other dude? Red Pill, Pink Pill, whatever he calls himself. This came up in a group forum in New York. This was at the Marcus Garvey Ballroom in Brooklyn. Yeah, actually, Dr. Delbert Blair was on that thing, and I was invited out to it. I'd set up a table and stuff, whatever. And we were having a discussion afterwards, and of course I got attacked because actually Polite was there, but what y'all don't know, before Polite became who he is, I had a history. That's a long story. But anyway, he was there, and as you know, he's one of the ones that promote that black woman is God shit, and I don't promote that because you need both the masculine and the feminine. So the black man isn't God without the black woman, and the black woman isn't goddess without the black man. That's just the way it is. You can't push that any other way. But my whole thing was, this was back in, I want to say 2010, 11, when they were really kicking it hard. I mean, they still do kind of, but not like, they kind of died out a little bit because it was a fad. You still hear them throw it in there every now and then. So my thing was, all these people were saying this, but I didn't see any female representation in any of their groups and organizations with female teachers. If the black woman is God, then your group should have black women teaching. Like I've gotten her up here a couple of times. I want to get more females up here to do this so I can sit out there. I don't want to do this shit all the time. We need more females doing this. And stop with the, I don't know, friend. No, I'm not buying that shit. You're not. It's personal. Get over it. We need to get more females teaching this if that's what we stand by. And I can't listen to anybody spit that garbage and I don't see any female teachers. So the black woman can't be that much of a God in your eyes is if you ain't have the black woman up there teaching in your organization. You understand? So that's another false illusion, false concept that we gotta toss to the side. But if we ever do get to that point, and like you say, we're feeling it out slowly but surely. I've had conversations with Ravana Noon. He had brought it up. I personally feel like it's not the time to do it right now. I still think there's other work to do. Because once we tap into that, there's really no turning back. And when you tap into that, it opens up gateways on all levels. On all those levels, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, the whole nine. But anyway, I'll leave that there. I'll be honest with you, how we really flow with it and come up with it, we just kind of go with the flow. We go with whatever the time dictates. It's not like we sit down and plan it. The radio show, we don't know what we're going to do till the night before. We don't like plan the radio show out. We just get to, I'll call them Wednesday, like, all right, what you want to talk about? That's why you don't get to notice it sometime on Wednesday or Thursday, because we don't know what we're going to do. Sometimes we know earlier. He might just shoot me something. I'll shoot him something. Bam, all right, well, let's do this week. I have no clue what we're going to do Thursday. Whatever comes to mind, we just do it. That's how it works. It's not about planning everything out. Sometimes the energy will dictate what needs to be talked about. So we might just say, let's talk about chaos magic this week. Sometimes Sith energy will come through. Let's build on the Sith. Sometimes it just goes in the left field. Like what we're getting ready to do is a lot of the decoding. I forgot the author's name. I sent you the book. the copy of that book. I can't think of his name. I got the book, really good book. He's breaking down. We're thinking about dedicating a couple of shows. We've done a few of them, decoding some of these movies. Because there is an occult breakdown. Not just the new movies. We want to go back into some of the old movies that came out in the 70s, 80s. Because there's a lot of rituals performed in those movies as you're watching them, and you don't even know it. Just by symbols, gestures, implements, things that all that stuff. So we want to go through that. But anyway, we got 5 minutes. Anybody have any more questions before we wrap it up? Everybody's good? All right. I do have some books here. If anybody interested, there's some books here. Please don't ask me what the shit is about. It's kind of self-explanatory. I do have if you have credit card, debit card, I do have a reader. I can scan it. That's pretty much it. There's pretty much books on everything we talked about. Somewhere in there. There's not one specific book on what book is reincarnation. I get that shit. I hate that. What's the name of the book? Let me see. Esoteric Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't think that.
I recommend people to get this book. I just got this book. Somebody brought it to my attention about a month ago. Jay Dyer is the author. It's called Esoteric Hollywood. If you want a good book on about what Hollywood is really about, the occult, breaking down, excellent book. When you just see the table of contents, you'll know why I recommend you read that book. And if you like movies, I'd recommend. It breaks down the new movies and all the old movies. Then when you go back and watch some of them, you're watching it now in a whole different light. You're looking at it different because now you're looking for stuff. Whereas before, when quote unquote you weren't awoke, you was just being entertained. Now remember, let me throw this out there. I didn't tell nobody. I've been kind of down this week. I don't really talk about it personally. Everybody knows that Prodigy from Mobb Deep passed away, right? Everybody heard about that? Well, I mentored him the whole time while he was in jail. I used to go see him. I have all letters of contact. We used to write each other all the time. So when that broke this week, that even talking about it bothers me because I'm not. Best way I can describe it is he was getting ready to come out with some shit. Trust me when I tell you. That whole Illuminati thing, he was about to smash as being fictitious and how that's being a tool used because the kids watch. And if you look at everything that just took place, there was a ritual performed and you guys didn't even see it. He died on the same day that All Eyes on Me movie came out. He also died in Las Vegas where Tupac died. Okay? So somebody's playing games.
And on the summer solstice.
And on the summer solstice, that's correct.
Big ritual day.
And that's not a coincidence. Now, he was getting ready to come out. I forgot the name of the album. The new one he was working on, something Illuminati, he was telling me. Well, basically what he was getting ready to do on the album was show you how that Illuminati thing used through music was to control the kids. There's no such thing. It's fictitious. It's something that they create to keep the kids controlled. And why do you think you always hear me talking about over the years? I laugh when people go on YouTube and say Jay-Z and Beyonce and the Illuminati. You motherfuckers have no idea what the Illuminati is. Trust me. You have no idea. My question would be, if you're talking about the Illuminati, who is the Illuminati? Give me some names. Have you ever been to an Illuminati meeting? So who the fuck is the Illuminati? He was getting ready to smash all that. And that couldn't happen. You understand? He also had a history, him and Havoc, when I was years ago, back in the Answer Real Law community in New York, they were part of that to an extent. I don't know if you guys remember a guy named Tragic, Intelligent Hoodlum, him too. Jazzo, Jay-Z. Jay-Z left when it became a spaceship cult. Jazzo stayed in, but Jazzo got pulled out by Jay-Z later. There's so much shit people don't know. Most of these guys were involved on some type of level, but one thing I can say for Prodigy, when you hear him talk, if you go pull up his old videos, he was literally trying to help people. When I say help people, he was trying to help people the way he saw best fit. He was literally trying to fix Queensbridge, but he knew it was an impossible mission. And anytime somebody tries to realistically set out to help somebody, they're going to get attacked. And and I say this to everybody to be careful, and I don't say this to create fear, but even with myself, things have happened over the years that I know why they happen. People have tried crazy shit with me, but I'm on guard. I'm on guard too. But you got to be careful when you're somebody like Prodigy that's in the mainstream is what I'm talking about, that has an effect that can really, affect individuals. And as you know, a lot of the old school artists are back out touring now. They're back out there because they see the avenue that the music is going, and now they're trying to come back to correct a lot of the things they couldn't correct then. But anyway, I was in a shitty mood all week. I know some people called me and sensed it. That's kind of why I just kind of keep it low key. I'm able to deal with it, but you see, it's like, when the shit gonna end? You know what I mean? Like, when this bullshit gonna end? But that's why it's important we all take care of ourselves. Don't be a slave to nobody's bullshit, and things work out. Anyway, that's all I got. We're gonna wrap this puppy up. Appreciate everybody coming, and